Doctor's in. If I'm going to get bad news, I want it from him because he's very handsome. Dr. Irwin Redlenner joins us now. MSNBC medical expert. Dr. Irwin Redlenner.
Here he became Dr. Doom.
Dr. Irwin Redlenner is the founding director of the National Center for Disaster Preparedness and senior research scholar.
Dr. Doom.
Good morning, Doctor.
Good morning, Miss Miller. How are you?
It's sultry voice of yours. I was just saying, I think a work requirement for my 100-year-old mom to get her Medicare is absolutely, seems like a good idea of Kevin McCarthy's.
And she probably hasn't even looked for a job.
Right?
I'm just guessing.
Lazing around the nursing home. Yeah.
Yeah.
Doc, I was just saying, almost every day there's a different subject where, we just say this is just not anyone's version of the Republican Party that anybody recognizes. I was thinking of you and all the great work you're doing in Ukraine on that disgusting CNN town hall when Donald Trump couldn't even say who he wants to win in Ukraine. This is a party that will not say Vladimir Putin's a war criminal, which he is, right? I mean, it's just on issues that really shouldn't be partisan, that are just about moral clarity, right?
Well, it's lost any sense of having actual principles and things that it believes in. If you can't believe in, helping people, making sure women have access to the health care they need, why would you expect them to have a moral position on defending democracy in Ukraine and stopping this humanitarian travesty committed by Russia? So I'm not even surprised anymore, Steph, that, everything, even talking about the debt ceiling, which you were just talking about, the answer from the Republicans, hurt people, hurt the most vulnerable, hurt the poor, hurt the elderly. It just is a litany that we've become used to, unfortunately, and here we are now, kind of trying to face off against a party who actually doesn't really care about anything other than the most extreme cultural wars here. And this is what we have. The question is, how are we going to beat them?
And this culture war against women, Doc, for instance, I'm sure you're as horrified as anybody, but particularly as a doctor, this story after story of women, desperate women dying of sepsis, trying to, people. I don't seem to understand what it's like to ask a woman it doesn't have means to get 3 states away or whatever it is in a state of sepsis or whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
What state just voted to not make ectopic pregnancy or anything else an exception? If that's not a war on women, I don't know what is.
It's a callous reversion to a time long, long ago where white men in power were able to control everything. Other races, other people, other genders. It was about the men who were white and were in power. That was it. And somehow there's this overwhelming need for political purposes to go back to the very, very bad old days. And I think really it's up to voters to stop them.
Yeah.
It's up to, obviously Democrats will have to put up good quality candidates, and for the most part we have. But at the end of the day, I don't know what happens if we're not able to convince the American people that the Republicans are taking us in a super dangerous direction right now.
Yeah, we were just talking about, while this is politically helpful, I think, this just Trump bragging about being the one to overturn Roe v. Wade, which, of course, is wildly politically unpopular and losing them election after election. But he said, after 50 years of failure with no one even coming close, I was able to kill Roe v. Wade, much to the shock of everyone, and for the first time put the pro-life movement in a strong negotiating position over the radicals that are willing to kill babies even into their 9th month and beyond. Can you please explain as a doctor what a ridiculous lie this is?
Well, it's preposterous, but my point here is that this is a flow of BS, bad ideas, and misinformation that started at the day one of the Trump administration and before, really, during his campaign. We saw what was coming. There were plenty of previews, yet we elected him. To this day, I know the political pundits have reasons and they explained it in this group and that group. But at the end of the day, to have cruelty and misinformation be the basis for creating healthcare policies, which
Yeah.
abortion is a healthcare
And it's
issue.
anti-science nonsense. What again? Nobody.
Yeah.
It's not legal to abort a baby in the 9th month. No woman goes, "Oh, I changed my mind."
Right.
I mean, it
Oh
is
yeah.
extreme circumstance with the health of the baby or the mother is involved. Correct?
And by the way, yeah, and if you're
The life
promoting
of.
the
Pardon
idea,
me. Yeah. Go ahead.
if you're promoting the idea that abortion is about taking babies, 2 weeks before they're born and aborting them. If that's how you're presenting the case, many voters will just generalize that to, oh,
Yeah.
well, we can't have abortions at all, even when the life of the mom is in danger.
Yeah.
The very thought of that, am I saying those words, gives me the chills.
Yeah.
Can you imagine? I can't.
Yeah.
What actually that means for the doctors and the families that are in the emergency room
Yeah.
with a pregnancy gone bad. Uh, Unconscionable barely does justice to what that means, actually.
Trump goes on to say, without me, there would be no 6 weeks, 10 weeks, 15 weeks, whatever's finally agreed to. Without me, the pro-life movement would have just kept losing. Thank you, President Trump. One of his many tweets thanking himself.
Yeah.
But again, I guess we should be glad politically that he's so dumb. But, practically, it is
Well,
really
he was
having
dumb
tragic.
in 2016. He was dumber than he is dumb now, if that's possible, and he got voted in. It's incredible.
By the way, I loved, what was it, Lara Trump said the other day that when has Trump ever been wrong about anything? And I just loved all of the people tweeting. One said, oh, we can still inject disinfectants into our bodies, right? That cures COVID. And that 51 miles of flimsy border wall that's always falling down, but it's good. He put that Trump plaque on it. I mean, just on and on. I mean, almost everything he's ever said is a lie. And it just... We keep talking about the COVID press conferences, the ridiculous, shove a UV light up your ass, drink bleach, I mean, on and on. But you said, again, it has real world consequences. As you tweeted, could be as many as 10 million Americans suffering from long COVID with symptoms ranging from brain fog to cardiac issues to face blindness. I'm like, oh God, what's face blindness? That's new.
Face blindness.
I have a friend who suffers
All
from
of a
that.
sudden, you lose the ability to recognize somebody that you know.
Yeah.
You're looking at a face, you're thinking, who the hell is this? I think I know this person, but you can't put it together. And it's a very weird symptom.
That happens every morning in here. I never know. It's like Menudo. I assume they're the same people, but I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's this is something that I don't think anybody anticipated in the beginning.
Wow.
That there would be people by the millions who would be suffering symptoms long after the acute illness, and we really don't know what to do about it just yet. We're studying it, and there's no real diagnostic tests. There's no treatment at the moment, so people need to just really stay in touch with their docs and handling the symptoms as they come up.
Well, that's what you say. If you had COVID followed by weird persistent symptoms, tell your doctor because I mean that's just going to. And I think I don't what your thoughts are on obviously declaring the COVID emergency over, Title 42, all of that, because as you keep tweeting every week, it's not over. It's not over yet.
How you can define over when there's so many people still getting hospitalized and still getting sick. In New York City alone, there's somebody that dies basically every day, and somewhere between 12 and 15 people get admitted to the hospital for COVID. And that's in a pretty well vaccinated city, and it's worse in other parts of the country. It's kind of subjective. At what point do you say, if we continue to have occasional deaths and hospitalizations from COVID, at some point you say, well, it's more or less under control compared to what it was. But when you undeclare it an emergency and you remove the ability for many people to get tested or get treated, that's not a solution. Even if you say it's not the kind of emergency that it used to be, it's the consequences of declaring the thing over that worries us.
Yeah. Yeah. You mentioned during the break, and you also tweeted about AI.
Yeah.
As someone that I didn't even know how to get the photos out of my phone. This is terrifying to me. You said AI's potential to prevent, diagnose, and treat illness is extraordinary, essentially unlimited, beyond exciting, but unchecked, AI will pose the greatest threat to human survival we've ever faced. The benefits and threats are essentially here. Who will control this technology? Yeah, it is like what I see again yesterday, the Tom Cruise thing. I mean, it is eerie that you cannot tell the difference, right?
You can't tell the difference, and it's getting worse. It's getting the ability to distinguish robotic, android, AI-driven people from the real deal is getting increasingly limited. So we've had unfettered development of AI without really controls or even principles in place. And I don't know that we're going to be able to catch up with this. And I'm really I'm very worried about the prospects for AI getting totally out of control.
Yeah.
And really the ability to create absolute chaos and havoc in our society, including potentially starting wars. And, hang on, kids, because we're in for a crazy, crazy ride here.
Doc, I don't know if you knew I was out Monday with a lesbian sex eye injury, and now I'm terrified that someone's going to make a Stephanie Miller AI lesbian sex eye injury video. It's not me. If you see anything online, it's not me.
Did you just?
I wouldn't have even suggested it on the radio, but
it's in my actual medical record now.
Yeah,
it's fine.
Lesbian
Everything's
eye
fine.
injury.
You said you weren't going to bring this up to him yesterday.
Yeah.
I tell him everything. I can't help. You got to tell your doctor everything.
Yeah, you do.
I have to say that this is. Thank God I wasn't in Florida because it was a female doctor in urgent care, and she said, "Good for you." It's all fine now. Tragedy plus time equals comedy. All right, Doc. We will see you next week, I hope, unless that just ruined it. But love you.
Love you too, guys. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thanks, Doc.
All right.
He's going to have a lot of questions.
You can't help it. You've got to tell your doctor everything. You can't lie.
He's laughing at you right now because he has no idea.
Expect a text from him to.
Yeah, you have to explain this.
Yes.
It's fine now.
Steph, you have some explaining to do.